Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jimmy Gomez, member of the Intel Committee, who was part of today's hearing, and Samantha Vinograd, former Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism, Threat Prevention, and Law Enforcement Policy at the Department of Homeland Security. Both certainly know how classified information should work and how it travels. Congressman, let me start with you. We showed a number of clips from that hearing today. It felt to me from reading the coverage there weren't a lot of questions answered. There's a lot of obfuscation, if you could say. Did you learn anything from the hearing, and what did you think of their answers?
I don't think they didn't answer anything. And second, it just doesn't pass the smell test. I mean, this is something that's so rational. One, they were first denying that they had this conversation until the report came out. Two, they're denying that there was any kind of targeting information, what weapons were used. And then even just yesterday, Tulsi goes on, uses the I don't recall defense. You've been on the job 43 days. This happened 10 days ago. You're using Signal not to plan where you guys are going to go for lunch, but to launch an military operation using lethal force. This doesn't make sense on any level, and they're straight up lying to the American public about it.
I mean, the I don't recall really doesn't pass the smell test, so just take your words. Sam, one of the explanations they've given, or the kind of strategies they've had here, should I say, is to say no one was hurt, the operation was successful. This just shows us policy discussion and debate and coordination. You've been in these rooms, you've sat in these meetings, you know how this information is supposed to travel. Why is information traveling over a channel like this, putting people at risk?
Classified or sensitive information is meant to be discussed and transmitted on classified channels, not encrypted ones, because information is classified, Jen, based on the perceived harm its unauthorized disclosure could do to U.S. national security. Look at where we are today. The entire world now knows about internal communications among senior national security officials in the United States.
Including the vice president.
Including the vice president, national security advisor. It's not like we have that kind of insight into how Kremlin officials are discussing battle plans or how the People's Republic of China is having policy deliberations. And by having these kind of conversations in insecure ways, you open up these communications to exploitation by bad actors, foreign governments, criminal networks who can use it to gain an advantage on the battlefield, to gain insights into how the U.S. government is working, and more. Classified information and sensitive information should stay in secure places.
One of the things I've been wondering about is how many other Signal chats were there possibly? I mean, this one was the Houthi PC small group Signal chat. I can't imagine it was the first one. I'm sure you wonder about that.
No, it's definitely a question that has run through my head, and it just shows on if they were this sloppy on this issue, they're probably sloppy on other issues. And here's the thing. Signal, if you can read the Signal chat, then the Chinese and the Russians, who are most likely on your phones, can read it. This is something that when you get on the committee, they drill it into you. Everything that's on your phone is compromised. So when they have this kind of discussion, they're really putting the lives of our men and women in service in danger.
No question about it, which is why I think this brushing through of nobody was hurt this time, don't worry about it, is offensive to people serving our country in the military. One of the debates here, I don't think it's a debate, is this question of whether this information was classified. And there's I don't want to call it semantics, but the issue here is that this information was operational and put people at risk, and it put an operation at risk. How did you read it, and how should you've seen a lot of classified information, digested it? What do you think?
Sure. I mean, never have I ever seen an operational plan that was not classified. So this doesn't have to be a guessing game, though. What Secretary Hegseth was messaging about, the timing of the strikes, the weapons being used, that was all derived from an operational plan, probably drafted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that got an original classification. In this situation, what would be prudent would be for there to be an investigation into what the original classification of that content was, that Secretary Hegseth then ostensibly copied into the Signal chat. What we haven't seen is the FBI, for example, announcing such an investigation, or the Pentagon proactively saying we're going to look into this. We should take the guessing out of this and let professionals do their jobs to determine if there was, in fact, an unauthorized disclosure of classified information, so we can avoid any unintended consequences.
One of the questions I often get when people stop me in the grocery store, I'm sure you all get the same things. It's like, what can Congress do? What can people do? I mean, you're in the minority in the House. Yes. The Democrats are in the minority in the Senate. There's certainly public opinion, and public opinion is not excited. They are very displeased by this, to put it diplomatically. What can Congress do to compel an investigation? What can you do in the minority, I should say, to compel an investigation, to push for more information if there isn't cooperation from Mike Johnson and the leadership in the House?
Yeah, we have to keep pushing and then discussing this in public. Today, one of the guys from Barstool Sports said, hey, this doesn't jive. This doesn't work.
It's a sign it's broken through, perhaps. Yes.
It's a sign that's broken through to the people that they care about. Mm-hmm. And we got to keep raising that as an issue, because this is not about scoring political points. This is about the safety of our armed services and how sloppy this administration has become. Remember, this is not the first lap of judgment that this administration has had when it comes to the CIA, DOJ, and OPM. This is a reoccurring thing that we're seeing. So I think that we got to keep talking about it, and then hopefully the tide turns and the senators stand up.
I want to play. So Gabbard and Ratcliffe did a lot of dodging yesterday. I just want to play that. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but just to remind people there and talk to you guys a little bit about it.
Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe?
Not that I recall.
Ms. Gabbard?
Not that I recall.
I recall there being an exchange. I don't recall the specifics.
I don't remember the exact wording that I used, but I did not recall the specific details. I don't recall which country I was in at that time.
You don't remember the country?
I'd have to go back and look at the schedule.
I mean, okay. I worked at the State Department for 2 presidents. We've all done. That's very hard for me to believe. What did you make of their answers there? Let me start with you, Sam.
A lot of dodging, to use your word, Jen, but we have served under various administrations. If you ever think there might be a security violation at any point, it's incumbent upon all of us in that moment, not when you're in front of Congress, to alert the appropriate official that there could be an unauthorized disclosure. So saying that you didn't recall something that happened several days ago doesn't speak to the fact that the time when really sensitive information was shared on an encrypted versus a classified platform, nobody spoke up and contacted a security official to say, hey, something's amiss here.
Anyone could have spoken up. Any of the 18 on there, Congressman Gomez, Samantha Vinograd, thank you so much for joining me.